Joy Ansley, Joe Barnes,
Here.
Larry Irvin,
See.
Philip Johnson, Paul Madrid, Debbie Ortiz here, Jerry Pack, Gordy Phillips, Jeffrey Snyder, Bill Williams.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, we do have a form. Is there a motion to approve the agenda or any changes to be made? Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting October 18, 2012, and the special meeting of November 1st, 2012. I would entertain separate motions for those, please, if there's any additions or corrections.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of October the 18th.
Then a motion made and seconded that we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 18, 2012. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The special meeting of November the 1st, 2012. Any additions or corrections? Motion to approve? Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the special meeting of November 1st, 2012. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to welcome everybody here today that's in the audience, and we'll get to any comments at the end of the meeting. And we invited our assessor, Betty Caver, here. If everybody doesn't know her, she's sitting here by the screen. And we need to ask her some questions later on that hopefully she can help us with. And Leanne, glad to see you here, Commissioner. Okay, anybody else I missed? I'm sorry.
Your commissioner-elect is here.
Commissioner-elect Candelaria is here, yes. I saw him, he's around the corner, and the other gentlemen like to introduce yourselves.
Doug Mills.
Doug Mills,
Or to Sharon.
George Hewitt.
Joey, nice to meet you. Okay. Joseph?
Mr. Chairman, board members, Commissioner Tucker. There's been some high profile recently given to an issue of construction and demolition debris coming to our landfill, and I just wanted to take your indulgence for just a moment if I could, because there are two members on our board that have come in to the board since the permit hearings were held on the current permit at the landfill. You may not be familiar with construction and demolition and what we are permitted to do. Construction and demolition debris is defined in the rules of the Solid Waste Bureau, which are set by the Environmental Improvement Board of the state of New Mexico. And our landfill has been permitted as an MSW landfill since 1998. MSW is municipal solid waste, and construction and demolition materials can be disposed legally in an MSW landfill. Construction and demolition specialty landfills do not require a liner because construction and demolition materials don't generate garbage juice, they don't impact groundwater. And so in an effort to divert materials away from the MSW cell, which is, as you know, very expensive because of the double liner, the state-of-the-art leachate collection and disposal system, we had, as a part of our permit, permitted a construction and demolition.
No agendas offered to meeting participants.
This cell is designed by environmental engineers. It was included in the permit application to the Environment Department. The procedures for the construction and demolition cell are in the permit. And everything that we do is in compliance with the rules of the Environment Department. Construction and demolition materials are not hazardous materials. Regulated hazardous materials have to go into a hazardous materials permitted landfill. There is an intermediate range of materials which are not regulated hazardous materials, but which are defined by the Environment Department as special waste. These include things like petroleum contaminated soils and treated wastewater septic sludge, industrial ash, spill of a chemical substance, and offal. There are 9 different of these special wastes that are identified by the Environment Department. And we are permitted to have some of those special wastes. They are defined in our permit. There are regulations for procedures for monitoring, for lab testing those materials prior to coming to the landfill. And all of those procedures are done as part of our policies and procedures at the landfill. So please do not get confused. And if people come and talk with you about construction and demolition materials because they have heard that they are dangerous or hazardous, rest assured they are not. Mr. Wilson.
So I have a question. So for the record, Mr. Ellis, you're not putting dangerous and hazardous materials in the landfill, is
We
that
are not.
correct?
We are not.
Comment, we never have, you never have been.
We never have.
Okay.
A follow-up on the joint meeting where you met with the county commissioners. One of the recommendations was to start looking at perhaps a consultant that might review this issue. And I can report back to you that I have contacted the Department of Finance and Administration. They do not have consultation available to us because they are short-handed. Our budget analyst for our agency was actually in attendance yesterday when I made a presentation to the East Torrance Soil and Water Conservation Board, which he saw. Generally, it was the same presentation that I made at the joint meeting. And he was able to see the different facets of our operation. And it was informative to him as to the budget that he received. And he recognized that that the shortfall of the waste stream for the solid waste management of the county's operation is a problem that goes to the county.
Excuse me, Joseph, is that Tom Clifford? Is that our budget analyst?
Tom Dixon.
Tom Dixon.
Yeah. I have also made preliminary contact with the Small Business Institute at the University of New Mexico. And the director of that institute has said that we can make application for consultation. Applications are due in December. And this particular program operates on a semester basis. It involves undergraduates and graduates. And what would happen would be if they decide to choose our project, they would begin a consultation in February. They would do a visit out here to Torrance County at the initiation of the consultation. And then I would continue to provide them ongoing information as they need it. And they would then present to us their recommendations at the end of their term. The other contact that I have, and I have not spoken with the director yet, but I have initially made contact, is with the Executive MBA program at UNM. And this is something that our attorney Jim Cook had recommended, because when he went through with his MBA program, he participated in such a program. The executive MBA is where business executives who have experience in the business world and are wanting to go back to school for their master in business administration come together, and it's a separate program from the undergraduate, graduate program of the Small Business Institute. This is a possibility, and it's certainly one that sounds interesting. And going forward, I'll be able to, as this develops, I'll be able to give you more information on that.
Joseph, on that one from the school that was out of Albuquerque, you said? The semester type, is it?
Yes,
out of Albuquerque,
at
out of
UNM.
the university?
Yep.
Is there going to be a charge for that, or is that part of their classes?
There is an initial fee of $500 to cover materials.
And it's for one semester?
It's one semester.
And all you do is kick all the paperwork to them, and they fine tooth comb it and all that.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Our septic lagoon has been completed, and it's gone online. I visited with the septic haulers in the area, and I have provided them with information about this facility. To date, unless something's happened today, we don't have any customers yet. The rate that we set is 6 cents a gallon. These haulers are paying 2 cents a gallon in the South Valley to the city of Albuquerque. And so, being 2.5 times what their disposal costs are now, they may be a little reluctant. That may be why they're staying away. So, my recommendation is that we continue to offer this for another month, and then if there are no customers, then maybe we'll need to think of something different. We do need to utilize the facility, and because it was grant money, it's already approved.
Joseph, what's the standard capacity of a truck? I mean, I understand that they vary, but standard is 2,000 gallons?
The maximum is 3,600 gallons. And a 3,600 gallon truck, we don't know exactly how much septic weighs. We have a guess at it at about 8.5 pounds a gallon.
Now, are you going to weigh that? Does it run across the scale?
We're going to charge them by weight.
By the way.
Right. And the way the city of Albuquerque charges them, because it's not a monitored activity. I mean, it's like open 24 hours a day, where a truck can go down there and hook up and empty. The city of Albuquerque takes the capacity of the truck, such as 3,600 gallons, and they figure what 2 cents a gallon would be on 85% of the load. So it doesn't matter whether it's a full load or a half load or a quarter load or whatever. They always get billed straight billing for that 85%. One of the advantages that we have is that we have the truck scale, and so we would be charging them only for what they bring in. And that may be a prudent business decision for these guys as well. So we're going to continue to work with them, and hopefully we can get it, particularly for the county customers that are having their septic tanks pumped. It may be that we can actually reduce costs because of the reduced turnaround time and access to more routes during the day for these haulers.
So the pumpers here in the valley, such as the one or two that's in Warren, they run all the way into the South Valley?
They run all the way into the South Valley.
Holy moly.
People going down to Willard, people going to Encino to pump tanks, go all the way to the South Valley.
And they're not coming to us for 6 cents.
Not yet.
You must be finding a good price on fuel. It's the only thing I think.
At the last meeting, you authorized me to get with Bernalillo County to allow them to go ahead and bring their waste stream from the East Mountain Transfer Station to Harris. I did that. You remember I used the analogy of it doesn't matter to them whether they turn left or whether they turn right when they leave the facility, they can come here. Well, as it turns out, Bernalillo County resembles kind of a battleship, because to make that turn from going left to turn right takes quite a while for that ship to turn. And just yesterday, we were finalizing what they needed to complete their purchase order so that they could come to the lake. So we have not had any of their trucks yet. Although I expect probably after the Thanksgiving holidays, we'll begin to see that issue come in. Mediation on the Teamster Union contract was originally scheduled for November the 27th. It turned out that the Teamsters had a conflict come up. They've got to be in court that day, so they've changed that to December the 4th. So I'll be meeting with our attorney the day prior to that to come up with a plan going back into contract negotiations. Mr. Chairman, that's it.
Any questions? Thank you. You have in your packets budget information. Gentlemen, if you want. That's this back there.
So financial report through the end of October, so it's the first 4 months of the fiscal year. You can see that our revenue of $505,000 is 99% of the projected revenue for the time period of $509,000. There are no significant anomalies. Item 411 actually shows an $11,000 deficit. However, there was a misposting of that tipping fee from the EVSWA hauling. It wasn't done before I prepared this document, but it really doesn't make any difference to the bottom line, because what comes in as revenue there goes out as expenses when you go down to expenses. So the bottom line is exactly the same.
I have a question. For the record, I read in the paper that we're a fiscal crisis. That doesn't appear to be such, so
We're not going to crash next week or anything, I'm not sure.
The projection that you have is a revenue plus of $154 by the end of the year. However, that does require that we move $33,000 from our reserve savings into the reserve for the financial assurance account, of which you will know. But in terms of our profit and loss, no.
so it's totally erroneous that we're fiscal crisis. Is that correct?
That's correct. The expenses you can see are 99% of the budgeted. For a net ordinary income of minus $18,873 for the 4-month period, which is 102% of the projection of $18,360. Unaudited cash at the end of October was operating account was $84,171. The reserve account was $101,780. Financial assurance is $327,068. Capital development is $437,298. ESGRT capital fund is $102,000, and safety bonus is $20,680.
question. Last night I did just a short presentation on the meeting,
Yes.
and I also explained the safety incentive that we have created here to keep our workman's comp down.
Yes.
I get hammered pretty hard, a little bit, by the word bonus. Do we need to take that word out and put safety incentive fund?
That's a good
In
idea.
there?
That's a good idea.
In practice, it's simply a performance bonding, safety performance
Right.
bonding. Lots of businesses use it.
But yeah, and it's like I explained, well, maybe I used the wrong word last night, so maybe I did. So can we quit using that word? Because we got hammered at the other
That's
meeting
something
the other
that
day.
Linda suggested to me a couple of weeks ago, and I just haven't.
So let's take that out of there.
Sometimes it, turning the battleship takes a little time. So.
But I understand what it's for, and I understand why, but for some reason, people have a word
No,
of
the
bonus.
word, but bonus, bonus may imply or suggest that it's value received for nothing done, and certainly it's value received for value. So, and it's contracted, it's perfectly legal,
And
and
actually, Joseph and I were at the same budget conference, and I was concerned about the word bonus, so we had a discussion with the director of DFA, one of the assistant bureau chiefs, and we told him how our deal worked, and he has absolutely no problem with how the safety incentive fund works, and that was his deal too, was
Right.
just simply change the word.
So we respell bonus and start with an I, or an E, or however you spell it.
I guarantee that will be done by the next board meeting. Councilman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And if you, certainly if you need me to come to your entity and.
No, I got the point across.
Okay, good.
It's just that I used the wrong word.
Any other questions on the financial report?
Motion made and seconded to approve the financial report as presented with Larry's change on it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item on the agenda is our county contract sustainability plan. And as you all know, that when we went to the joint meeting with the county, we told them we'd come back with some ideas, and we're starting to kick a lot of ideas around. And our board member, Joe Barnes, has got some ideas he'd like to share with us in regards to starting on the process. Bill,
Well, now what I would like to do would be I'd like to have a budget committee. I'd like to have a budget committee meeting, a workshop, to discuss this and plug a few members in and get the plan a little more solid. Get some input at the committee before we bring it here, because it's long, it's involved, it's confusing, there's several steps to it to be implemented, depending on how much we have to implement of it, how much we want to implement of it, and how much we can politically implement of it. And I think we should develop a plan a little more in committee, and then bring it back to the board. Probably, I would suggest a meeting, another combined meeting when we bring the plan to the board with the commission, so that the political aspects of it can be discussed at that time. And
So this is for your workshop?
no, this will be after the
Oh,
workshop.
okay.
When we have a meeting, we can have a joint meeting and bring the findings of the workshop to the meeting for the county commission then at that time. But prior to that, does that input gonna work, Mr. Ellis? Can you switch to that HDMI?
Do you have something with signal coming out of here?
Not yet. This is just a little something I want to show you. It's going to, it's just going to be one of the issues that's going to be addressed, with my plan. And, my plan is comprehensive. It's going to address some more than one HDMI. We should have some.
We're on HDMI.
Coming out. You should have tested this, Mr. Ellis. This is important. Do you have a suggestion there?
I
Why is your
know
machine
seriously.
not functioning?
What if you reboot your primary unit?
Huh?
On his camera, but it's not reading through the cable.
What if you reboot your primary unit, Joseph?
I'm sorry?
If you reboot your primary unit, like your projector unit, that might recognize the signal?
There's only one HDMI, huh?
There's only one HDMI. And it's connected, so it says source HDMI.
Jeff, help me out.
Can you link it through your laptop and have the laptop send it to the,
No.
it should be able
Is your camera on standby?
No, it's playing it right now. I was afraid of this.
Can't leave without him.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I do.
You would avoid them totally, huh, Mr.
This is the
Larry?
first time I've ever tried this connection or anything else. I don't know the adapter or anything. It is an HDMI. It should be playing.
Betty, if you were
Is that
guessing,
HDMI? You got an HDMI on this?
Well, that's what I'm looking for, Josh.
Miss Betty.
Betty, if you were guessing, or you may know, how many parcels of property do we have in Estancia?
I don't.
Total parcels?
Everything,
Lots, farms, ranches, whatever.
everything about 32,000.
That's what I figured. What my video shows here, folks, is, and we can pass it around, I guess, and look at it. This is just within walking distance of my house, up and down one road. And there's lots on here that are probably not even on the books, they're subdivided. There's trash all over them. I filmed about 4 of them. And I live within, 3/4 to a half a mile of the transfer station in Tahiti. And I walked toward the transfer station here when I took this video. And a couple of the properties I walked on and took panned around them. There's no trespassing signs or anything else. They're open roads into them. And like I say, you're just gonna have to watch this. But there's also places on there that have fallen through the cracks. I know people are using other people's, they pull, anytime a rental goes vacant and then comes back on, it's not gonna be on this, on the books. I mean, if you go up and down my road alone, on this video, on any one of these lots, there's more garbage on there that aren't paying a dime. We have vacant exempt. And if somebody were to come, let's say next door, let's say my neighbor on down the road buys one of these properties. Well, there's an incredible amount of garbage on them and stuff to be cleaned up. It would be a vacant property. There wouldn't be any billing on it, and he would have a ticket to the landfill if he's paying his on the other, and this would all end up in our landfill, off of another piece of property. It could very easily happen that way. But we need to look at these that are vacant exempt. My overall plan, which I really can't go into totally here, it'll take too long. I mean, this committee meeting first. It would answer a lot of questions, or it would bring a lot of people that aren't paying, that should, into the fold here, and make them responsible for things like this. Now, you say, okay, well, we're already responsible, we can go around with some of the zoning around, this is illegal, we'll dump it, dump. That doesn't answer the question. You're filling the landfill up, they're gonna pay for it on the one-time use, we're gonna fill it up in our current formula at a loss. And anyway, my plan deals with all that. And it deals with having a hole in the ground out here ready for when this one is full and to be funded. And depending on how far you want to take the plan, you could eliminate, if needed be, if the economy and everything gets much worse, you could eliminate billing if you wanted to take it that far. You could even lower the monthly charge that we're charging people if you adopt my plan. We might even be able to lower the landfill tipping fee because it won't be calculated anymore as to that is how much it costs. It won't be under the same formula, the cost of what it costs to the landfill, what it costs to put it in there. It can be much better separated as to what the county expense is. It will be separated off. I've talked about it some with Jeff, and like I say, I think if we have a committee budget meeting, we can bring back a plan that we can take to the commissioners that's going to work. Because my plan addresses all problems. It addresses having a hole in the ground ready to go. It addresses how much it costs for the county, and if that's intermingled, it'll separate it. And
Betty, the reason I asked about the parcels and Joe knew about pretty close there, if any kind of I don't know whether you call it a levy or a tax or anything like that, when you start process going towards that, how long does it take to implement it through the county?
That's a good question. I would have to check on that because I have no idea. The only levy that we have is the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and they've been on the books for quite a while. Is that what you're saying,
Yeah.
that bill?
Something similar, we don't know exactly yet, but that's why we're gonna study it some longer, but
Okay.
trying to determine what's out there and how long the process would take for the money to be generated if it was in that form.
Okay, so you're saying if we do like we do our soil conservation districts, that it's billed on the property tax bill?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a lot of counties that bill their garbage and water on the property tax bills. I don't know the process. DFA would be, I think, the first people to talk to about it. I'm thinking there would have to also be some kind of joint agreements, obviously. I don't know what that process is. All I know from other counties that deal with some of these other issues, that other than soil conservation tax levies, that the problem comes down to how do you take care of delinquencies? And I don't know and from what I have observed in the last 3 years, I don't know if anybody really has a good answer for that. And I don't know what it takes. I don't know if it takes legislation or just the joint powers, joint agreements between the different entities,
Or under
or,
the soil and water conservation, it was voted on, wasn't it?
right.
Yes.
did it have to be voted on by the public?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
How are you today?
See, that was before me, so I apologize, I don't know.
Even when the town of Estancia became part of the historic the town of Estancia had to put it on their ballot that they want to be part of the East
That they
Orange.
want to pay that 1%
Yes.
because Moriarty and
It would have to go
Moriarty
through an
and Mountain
election.
Air do not, in the city
Yeah,
limits, do not
we
pay
don't have
that
it,
1%.
but Estancia
But
did that.
Estancia does.
So I think your levies too, if you look in state statute, I think they're laid out in there already, how much of a percent and stuff, so it may take legislation to do that.
And that's what I don't
See,
know.
that's if it's a mill levy. If it's not a mill levy and it's a garbage fee or a water fee or something like that, I think
There
it's
should
a
be
mill.
music on there.
I don't know how to do it.
I'm kind of liking that.
Leave me alone.
But I would be more than happy to find out as much as I can about that for you.
Okay. Would you
Okay,
please?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I appreciate you coming today. That's just the kind of questions we had to get this thing started and actually to develop what we want to do. And we don't even know if that's the direction to go. So we're exploring all directions.
And just so you know, that 32,000 parcels, that would be like, for example, if like I own 6 lots in Antelope Springs of 5 acres each, but they're all, so those are actually 6 lots, 6 parcels, but they're all billed on one bill to me, and therefore that is what so that is one parcel. A ranch, the Lucy Ranch, 65,000 acres. That's 65,000 acres, it's on one, it's considered one parcel. It has one ID number, one tax bill number. So that's,
Is that 32,000, is that including within city limits
yes,
of the entity?
that's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah, residential is only in the, sorry, I don't know those figures off the top of my head. The 32,000 is pretty stable. We find, the only thing, there are more parcels out there, but for example, in the land grants, we do not have all of them on the tax rolls. So that, there are actually more parcels out there. But very seldom I get excited because something will happen and I'll think I found a piece of property that we're not taxing, and then I do a little investigation and I find, yes, it was under another name or the wrong legal description or just something that I find it. The only ones that are very, very, very difficult to locate and deal with are the land grants. And then like last year when I let everybody know it is a state statute that if and that comes out in if I cannot map a parcel and I don't have a legal description on a survey or in a deed that is authorized by a licensed New Mexico surveyor, then I can refuse to do, like, change ownership on it or anything like that. So it comes down to a lot of times they'll split a parcel and they don't do a survey because brother's selling to sister. And they don't want to do it. They just say, okay, from here to here is yours and from here to here is mine. And so they'll do the deeds, though, to transfer ownership. Then I do not split that parcel if I do not have, if I can't go out and if Reuben cannot map it from whatever description they give me as a legal description on the deed. And that is in state statute that we do not have to, do that.
How many land grants are in the county, 2?
4.
4? Chile, Torreon.
Well, because you said they're part of Chiloli, and then Tehique, Torreon, Manzano, and Punta, actually, yeah. Just a very small piece of.
Active land grants is probably the key there.
Right, but we do have parcels from each one of those land grants on our records.
Right.
There are actually only 2. Now I understand 3, but in the state law only covers 2 of them, and there's actually 3 active land grants.
But on a given parcel, you can have more than one residence. Let's say the brother and sister split that parcel up
Right.
among themselves, they can each have a house on their own
Right.
lot,
Right.
but you still have it as one parcel.
Right, I still have it as one parcel, but I will be building them 2 houses.
Yeah.
Example of that is one that just went through planning and zoning at the last meeting, because we went out in the area on other things, and we found 2 houses on one parcel. and he had never gotten a permit for the second house, and we had never split the property. It was a 5-acre parcel, and so planning and zoning had him come in and get the permit and do everything the right way, and and so then now we have a 2.5 acre and a 2.5 acre each with the house on it. But we were only building for one house to begin with, because we didn't know about the other house.
Yeah.
And that's an issue.
So that'd be the same as us, or the solid waste here only billing for one, right?
Correct.
And so you're losing out on that other one.
If we don't know about it, right?
Three of those
Right,
situations.
right.
That was crazy.
And those are in the land grant.
Not necessarily, I mean, not all of them are. I mean, the one that I'm speaking of that just came about with, and it went through planning and zoning and got his permits and did the survey and did everything correctly this time. And see, there had been the 2 houses there, and there were 2 people, and there were a brother living in one and a brother living in the other one, and that had been going on since 2009. So we've just now added that to our roles.
So see, that's another one that I'm saying that, that's just, there's about 3 of them on here that's fallen through the cracks in just a short walk, half a mile. And hindsight's 20/20. And if I would have seen this years ago, I would have brought it up that there should have been, something jointly done between us and the zoning. Had we known that we were needing a, Class B landfill that everybody needs to support, and we could have attached this to zoning, 10 years ago, and maybe alleviated some of this. But there's a huge difference between 32,000 properties and the 4,000 that we're building. That's 1 in 8. And as long as we keep plugging numbers in our formula and our resources, our revenues, the numbers are not there. That's the reason that Albuquerque can charge $30 a ton, is because of the numbers. And same way with the liquid waste, it's the numbers. And the only way we're going to deal with this is you certainly have a hole in the ground from this one's full. And the only place we're going to get those numbers is each individual lot, which you just saw on here. And my God, any one of those lots, like I said, has got 10 years. I'm not going to produce that amount of garbage in 10 years. But you saw on just one of the lots. I mean, there's a pit. There's a road. I mean, it looks like it's maintained to the dumping sites. It's very, prominent. There's no weeds growing up in the road. It's heavily used. And I don't want to pay for that. Why should I pay for that? Why should I pay for my neighbors?
How soon would you like to have a committee set up to meet? Sooner the better.
And sooner the better.
Is there anyone here that would like to serve on that committee?
Jeff would.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would have 2 more.
Larry,
No,
you want-
you could,
Might as well.
you could all get 1 more.
Dang it, I spoke too soon. Yeah.
You're hooked, you're the last one.
I'll leave it up to Joe to contact y'all and we'll get something set up and we'll work back to
And just in favor, I think all of us have realized, I think all of us have seen how much better that planning and zoning is working these days. We have a good director of planning and zoning. We work very well together, the assessor's office and planning and zoning and code enforcement. and solid waste now, because we're all three working together a lot better to, somebody's out in the field and they see something and they come back and we tell it all. We tell the other two. Planning tells solid waste and the assessor's office. So we're doing a much better job of that, and it has improved. Also, the way we're doing our permitting, and part of that's even a credit to Tim Oden, because he'll come in and he'll say, well, we have these issues about surveys, boundary issues, and they're really making another parcel, and they put on it as a boundary issue, and we've had those issues in the past, and that has been working well. And now Steve has gotten very, very, very proactive, and we're gonna have to rewrite some resolutions and policies on things we do. But Tim came in and he says, well, we need to be doing this. Tim Oden comes in, we need to be doing this. You should have this and this and this. So we implement things, and so we told all the surveyors, hey, you've got to be doing this, this, and this. And we're being more diligent about it, and we've even turned a couple of surveyors into the state licensing for them doing illegal and wrong things, and file complaints against them, because it's a detriment to everybody, because they're charging so much, and then the poor people are losing out too. The property owners are losing out, and so it's working a lot better, and we are all working together a lot better, and I appreciate that from solid waste. And we've had meetings about better ways to do things, and we sit down with Steve in our office, and when somebody has an idea, hey, let's implement this and work together, because it's beneficial to all of us. So I do appreciate that.
I might also point out something, that, if 30,000 lots, how on earth can we service them? So that if in the future, I have no idea how many people would be living in for those lots, but, my plan will take that into consideration, and we certainly know that we have the infrastructure in place to service those lots if need be. And they have a responsibility to put that in place, because this is what ends up if they don't have the responsibility. And we're duplicating this research thing. We've been doing it all along, and today you see how difficult that is. We can't eliminate that too. But one other thing that's kind of interesting, when I put the water in, we had to do some pretty serious surveying, and the engineers picked up the survey marks in Chilly. I forget how much this cost, was ridiculous. They flew over with airplanes, they had marks on the ground, this and that. Some of the property lines were off 150 feet.
That doesn't
I put a
surprise
road
me.
in on somebody else's property. But that's how, that's the extent of the problem.
Something that maybe the county and this agency ought to consider, like the issue you're talking about. You said there's a road going back to where that trash is at. There's a lot of illegal dumping that happens on properties for out-of-state owners. And this is a pretty big stretch, but you could compare that to like some of the Superfund cleanup, out of sight, out of mind, not here. You've got owners that aren't aware that that's happening. So maybe the county could consider jacking up the fees for illegal dumping. There's got to be some kind of crossover, I think, on that to make that part work, because just like you said, you don't want to pay for somebody else's trash. Neither does the guy that owns the property that's not there either. And I know in our neighborhood, we've cleaned up 3 people's property, helped them clean property up, where they dumped junk for years, dead animals, garbage, oils, gases, all kinds of stuff.
Properties aren't fenced, and it is the property. If they buy the property here, it is the property owner's responsibility to fence it, put up no trespassing signs.
Oh, I agree.
If the fences is torn down, then they have to replace it.
In the process, even though it's a lot more active than it used to be, it's a long process. It takes quite some time to get a property cleaned up through the courts.
Yeah, it does.
I want to alleviate that.
Okay. So the committee will meet and get back to us, and we'll get back to them in order to the county to meet jointly. Thank you, Joe. Our next item on the agenda is Resolution 2012-10, and I'll read that, or have Linda, you want to read that to me?
You bet. This would be a change to the Board of Directors bylaw amendments. It's whereas the governing body in and for the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority, State of New Mexico, has reviewed the current bylaws, and whereas the Board of Directors finds that certain changes and revisions have been recommended and are appropriate. Therefore, be resolved that the Board of Directors for the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority hereby adopts the revised bylaws as attached. And the change that is being proposed to be put in is under the heading of quorum. A quorum of the board, defined as being at least 7 members, would be changed to 50% of the appointed members is required to open a meeting for business. So the change would be going from a set number of 7 to 50% of those appointed. We currently only have 10 members appointed to this board due to some vacancies from municipalities. So that is the proposed change.
Okay, any questions on that? I need a motion for approval. Resolution 2012-10.
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Roll call vote.
Joe,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Gordy,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Linda, yes, Bill.
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the resolution 2012-11.
Yes. The next proposal is to establishing document copying fees according to the Information for Public Records Act. Whereas the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority is required to furnish public records upon pursuant to New Mexico Inspection of Public Records Act. It is the policy of the authority to preserve transparency of operations for the benefit and edification of the general public. Whereas the authority has the fiscal responsibility to be a good steward of public funds, and whereas pursuant to New Mexico State Statutes 1978 compilation of the Information for Public Records Act, the authority may charge reasonable fees for copying public records in response to requests under the IPRA. Now there be it resolved by the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority that pursuant to New Mexico State Statutes 1978 of the Information of Public Records Act, the authority has adopted a document copying fee of $1 per page for documents 11 inches by 17 inches in size or smaller that are duly requested under the IPRA. For copies of documents greater than 11 inches by 17 inches in size, the authority shall charge the actual cost of making such a copy. Pursuant to New Mexico 1978 of the IPRA, the authority shall not charge a fee for the cost of determining whether any public record is subject to disclosure.
Can we copy 11 to 17?
We can.
Okay, yes.
I just want to comment, this is the same rate that the county charges as well.
I don't know.
I believe it is.
It is, and that's fixing to be disputed by myself.
That was last year, I think, or the year before.
Okay.
State law, though, right?
It's a maximum for an 8.5 by 11.
Any other questions from the board? Resolution 2012-11. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second comment? Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 2012-11. Roll call vote, please.
Joe Barnes? Larry?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Gordy?
Yes.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Linda, yes, Bill?
Yes. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is public request. Anybody in the audience?
Did we finish the county contract? We kind of slipped by that, I thought.
That's you.
Well, I know, but it wasn't all me. Didn't you have something, Mr. Ellis?
Oh, I'll deal with the budget committee.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, our next item is public request. Anybody in the audience would like to say anything, welcome to do so at this time.
I'd just like to say that I appreciate the steps forward that the authorities taken in putting information via the county's website. That's much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Safety. So
Anybody else?
initiated in January.
Having none? Okay, and announcements, our next meeting schedule. We're having an executive committee meeting, and then check that, what's the dates that are available on?
Proposal, then
Meeting the 20th, and do it the 13th. December 13th, fit everybody, okay. We have that meeting on the 13th, December 13th. Board meeting date is December the 20th, 2012, and that is our regular scheduled Christmas party that is funded by the employee fund, and also like to say anybody on the board that is going to attend would like to contribute to it, give Joseph $5-10 to bring the food and the goodies, because they always feed pretty good.
Well, I'm gonna eat more than $5-10.
No!
Larry needs to kick in 20.
I was hoping everybody kicked in more than
Just for
$5.
posterity, Larry, for the past several years, has always given a remuneration check
Yeah.
to the.
It's a cause. It's a good cause.
That's good.
You got it.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for coming.
Watch it work now.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, it's working now. What'd you do?
He kissed it. I saw him.
Just take a quick look at this stuff. See it here on